Hey guys, it's Guido coming at you with a Tactics Talk. Welcome back. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for being here and watching the video. We're going to watch some mid-tier scouting. I get a lot of 12T Scout replays. It's a great little tank, And I said I get a lot. I try not to feature the same tank quite a bit. But this is Rackster54, who has been working on his light tank gameplay and his gameplay overall, and I think has seen some pretty great improvement. This is a nifty little game that he has. So we're going to watch him do his work here. He spawned into the north on Proc, which, as we all know, is a very, very good scouting or scout tank game, or scouting map, if you want to look at it that way. We have two tiers here. He's bottom tier, so not a great big deal. Let's see how he handles it in his 12T. The nice thing about the 12T is it's very small. It's got pretty good spotting range. It's got okay mobility, and the little autoloader is the X factor. It can really jump out there and clip things out, but it's not a early clip out. Nothing really is as an autoloader. Do be careful about thinking you can jump out and just clip things. But mid to late game, if you can keep this bad boy alive, you can really start dropping the damage. Now, this doesn't actually happen on this map or on this match, so we're going to watch how he does this. Now, he goes for one of the most obvious spotting bushes in the game. The good news about this bush is it is quite long, so to speak, which means you can be in any part of it. Even if the enemy down here realizes you're in there, you have a reasonable expectation of not being shot, because you can kind of move around a little bit, especially in a tiny little tank like this. So he says he did pretty good. He got too aggressive and was killed. Spawned in the north, headed to the bushes that he won. Got lucky when a 64 appeared but didn't spot me. We'll take a look at that in a minute. I saw that I had support behind me, so held my fire. Very, very important. We'll talk about that when we get there. Let them clean up my spots. After the initial group was done, move forward for more spots. Got spotted in return. So we're going to look at how his mid to late game goes, because he ends up getting killed later on. But let's watch a little bit of what is going to be passive spotting. Okay, so he says, got lucky the Type 64 didn't spot me. The reason is he was behind the bushes, and the Type 64 was not. So he got up here in time. The 64 is actually doing what he needs to do to try to keep somebody from getting in these bushes. The good news is for Rackster that this thing has great camo, and it's tiny. So it is harder for someone to spot you trying to get into these bushes, because you're not so tall poking up above them. Like if you're back up here up high and you're trying to get into them, potentially the top of your tank could be poking through. So he sneaks in there. The only way now really the 64 is going to see him is by getting to proxy light range, or if Rackster has a really, really bad crew, but that's unlikely at this point, especially with the base camo of this tank just to begin with. So here comes the 64. He stops. The other thing that'll help him is when the camo net comes on, but the 64 had already made his closest approach and didn't see him. And that's the little scout, counter scout action that happens at that bush, all right? Just to reiterate a little bit, here's the bummer. This bush system here used to be available to both sides to some extent. I think it's moved a little bit, or maybe just the rest of the terrain. That was a long time ago when Proc was changed. But you used to actually be able to get into this bush from the other side, from the south, but it's nearly impossible to do so now. The counter is to come up in this area. Now, I don't usually drive my scouts up to where the Type 64 is. I come on this back slope over here in this little bowl and just skirt that and hopefully catch them trying to move in if I've got enough spotting. It's more dangerous to get into the 1-2 line, but it's a little bit more, it's a little easier for you to spot them trying to get in. Some of it also depends on where you spawn. Okay, if the 64 spawned, we're really getting into a discussion on this whole thing right now, but if the 64 spawned over on the right side, on the east side of his spawn, he'll have a longer drive to get over there, and it gives you a better chance. Now, you can't know that, and that may have been, or potentially something else that happens. I'll just get going. Sometimes people sit there and look at the deployment, even in scouts, and they're late to start moving, or they're not paying attention to their computer. That's actually important, especially on a lot of the early. Let's stop this for just a second because I want to talk about this too. Especially on the very early deployments, if you're late to move, if you're in a bad position on the spawn, if you get run in and spun out by somebody, all the things that delay you to get there, there are certain points, this bush being one of them, and the counter to this bush, that become harder if you're late to the party. And it's very important early on in scouts, more so than any other tank, but also important for other tanks too, on certain choke points and cross points and things. On if you get a late start, sometimes you just simply cannot do that anymore because you have to figure somebody else has been there first. Look at the elevation on this gun. It's awful. See how he can't even get the gun onto the enemy over there? He wouldn't want to fire. He did mention he held his fire, and that is exactly what you have to do here. There is some capability, let's talk about this, to back away from this bush, make it go solid, and take shots. Unfortunately for right now, if he backs out of that, he is now in the line of sight of these guys. And because his camo decreases when he fires, early game, that's not really viable to pull back, take shots down this range down here, because there may or probably are guys hanging out here on the backside of this ridge in the middle. So be very careful about making any kind of shots right here. They're very tempting. Super Hellcat loses his mind. What is he doing? Dying. So the Super Hellcat dies. A couple of one-shots. Look at that. He just racked up 1,441. At this tier, I was just about to say, okay, now everyone and their dog knows he's in there. At this tier, maybe. Maybe. Most players in this game have a lot of experience. At this point, it's a mature game, even down at this tier. But depending on how new the crowd is in your game, potentially, they may not have a good idea that I'll allow the Tiger One, that they are spotted and are going to get massacred. All right. So now we're looking at this with Rackster, and he goes, okay, I've killed that first group. How do I now facilitate more damage? So I think I would hold fast right here for a bit and just let it develop. But he did have his team pulling up behind him. And for those of you who are the snipers and the people who are watching a scout work this lane right here, be very careful about getting too close and getting spotted yourself. There are some spotting points up here in bushes that lights can get to. Enemy light can get to here. I've actually sat in this bush before. You can get there sometimes before they get up to the top, depending on where you spawned. It's a very high-risk bush. But more often, they're going to be a lot right along this little ridge in these bushes, trying to find you. Now, he's bailed out of there and not been spotted, but let's see how Rackster makes this approach. I would have stopped right there, Rackster, in that bush and kicked off my binocs and seen if I can't just catch another tank or two out. Maybe someone moves around. Maybe now you're close enough and you can burn through and find a piece of their tank sticking out. Right up the middle, though, I think this is the worst option of all of them. I'd have bailed down this way and come up through the bushes. Just come up through the bushes. I might have even hung out in these bushes for a minute, a hot moment, and seen if I could catch one of these AMD or the Type 64 doing a little ridge running right there. Maybe get them killed out, and then start creeping through those bushes along there. But this right here is just asking for it. You are fading over there. That's good. Oh. As soon as I see something like that, I want to know where it is. Now, you may have looked down at the mini-map, but instead of just kind of keeping my camera, you are shifting now. Holy cow, what is that? Yeah, this is a Super Hellcat. He did see you. Ow. Ow, ow, ow. Got 2,940. Ouch. All right, so kind of a failed movement. That mid-game, it's really kind of early game. Just a bit early to get in there. And I think if you'd have come down, like I said, off the ridge and then moved up through those bushes slowly, you'd have found that guy anyway and not lost any hit points doing so. So nice early position, good movement as far as getting there. Good job holding your fire. We get some more spotting. That's nice, 2,941. But just a little over aggressive on this. And it looks like we have found some. And I think your Cromwell found them. Definitely. And then he loses for it. So now you know you've got a Super Hellcat, a Leo, and an M4, and maybe one other thing. It looks like, yep, there's one other thing back there. So you've got 4 guys. And now we're going to start, I guess, using the bushes. This is how it should have gone before. And probably it was pretty self-critiquing. Right? As soon as you start taking fire, I would fix my gun, by the way. Definitely fix your gun. Just taking a look. Just keep moving up through those bushes. Stop long enough to kick off the... Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. There we go. Nice. There we go. Wow. He had to be 1 meter from proxy lighting range. Look at this. We found the Super Hellcat moving around. Looks like he's fading back. Here's another scout technique. You see something like that, and you know that he is below the ridge and can't see you. Jump up to that bush right there. You got good cover from everybody else. He's down below the ridge. Just zoom into that bush. Just go ahead and take one more bush and see if you can find him. It'd be really nice if this AMD could go away over here. All right, well, busted gun and all. I guess you thought the same thing. It'd be really nice if we could get rid of this AMD. Goodbye, AMD. Maybe a little bit dangerous, but it ended up working out. The Hellcat just took out your KV-2. The KV-2 is being a little bit foolish. This is interesting because now we're sort of at a point where I don't have as many snipers as I did. Look how many guys you got just sitting on that hill doing I don't know what. You don't have as many snipers behind you as you did, so you have to be a bit careful about how aggressive you get here. It's going to take 2 tanks a while to knock down tanks, much longer than 3 or 4 tanks would have taken when you had the Cromwell and the KV-2 back there. Just get into this bush and kick off the binocs and see what you can see. I wouldn't zoom in here. When I'm doing this with a scout, I'm zoomed out. I just lock the turret forward, let the binoculars kick off, and then I can right click and do this kind of thing. What's going on around me? Because I'm not going to shoot at something I see more than likely, at least not initially. I want to just be able to see what's going on. I want to see if I can see a tree go down. I want to see if I can see guys over here being taken on by the Tiger P. I want to look up here and all the way back here and see if I can't see something going on. If I get a light, I want to be able to put the camera right on them. I want to look back at my dudes quickly and go, where the hell are they? And then think, oh crap, Super Hellcat just bailed out. All I have is a KV-3, which is really derpy. That makes my options and possibilities here even less than they were. Now, I do have 3 artillery, and I might even be thinking at this point, well, crap. Now I'm actually defensive, and maybe if they start pushing, I just leave and fall back. But I find that SA out by looking around, not by being in zoom mode, sniper mode right there. So we're just kind of looking around. Our Super Hellcat, looks like our Super Hellcat decided the 1-2 line bore watching, so that's not a bad idea. Unfortunately now, you're very weak over here on the west side. Looks like they're trying to push off the hill. That's a good thing. But they're not doing a really great job of it, are they? Starting to die over there on the east. Got the Leo in the middle. Fix your gun. All right, now we're moving up. Okay, not a huge fan of this move. Not a huge fan of this move at all. This is not great. Why? What's my backup? I have a KV-3 way back here. A KV-3, a very derpy tank. I have 3 artillery, but I'll bet you anything they're worried and are shooting at the guys that are lit. As a matter of fact, there is a stun on that guy. Another reason to look around while you move or when you stop to find out if your arty is fired. Well, at least one of my guys is fired. I know that. Is that hugely important? No, but it is SA to know that, at least for the moment, I'm only going to have maybe 2 artillery. I won't get 3. That this is way early. We're going to be careful about it, so I like this as far as being careful. One of the problems with this now, though, is you're sort of relying on proxy lighting to get your lights, unless they happen to have an edge of their tank stuck out somewhere. Ooh, there we go. Oh, boy. He just hangs in there. What the heck? The KV-3 actually hit him? Well done, KV-3. All right. I love it. Don't shoot him. Don't shoot him. Do you know why you can't shoot him right now? Because this dude is going to see you big time. All right. And again, I would be doing stuff like, all right, what's going on? Zoom out. All right. He's got 200. He's got 200. He's got 20. So if at some point I see this guy die or this guy die, I then maybe have a shot. Ideally, I'd love to see the Hellcat die, and then I can take that one shot into his lower plate and kill him, and hopefully don't get spotted, and then I can work on the BIS next. But let's see how this goes down. He backs off. Oh, it's a hairy situation here, Raxter. One dies, the other one takes a hit. Nice. And that's the artillery, it looks like. And there goes, nicely done. So the artillery did pay attention to what you saw and got over there. At this tier, they can shift and zoom in much faster than the higher tiers, so your fire is going to come in a bit quicker. So nicely done there. We're up to 3,604 spot. Fix your gun. 3,604 spotting and 53 damage. Unfortunately, your push on the hill lost. That's pretty amazing. It appears the T45 and I guess the 40 TP are both over there. JP is unspotted. Super Hellcat, the other one, is unspotted. Your Tiger P dies, and then here comes the Super Hellcat. Hey, diddle diddle, right up the middle. Oh, golly. Somebody shoot him. Are we going to get... No, we're not. He fades away, and we don't get proxy lit. That's fantastic. All right. Potential here to get up and look for some 15-meter bush shots on this guy. The only bummer is you don't really know where the P43 is. I think right here you could have taken shots and punished this guy a little bit. I don't think you're going to get spotted by the P43 unless he's like right there in that bush. There's so many bushes between you and him. Definitely an opportunity, I think, to take that guy out. And the M44 kills him on the run. I was just about to say, you know, that Hellcat's isolated. Why don't we work on him until we get rid of him? Because he's the spotted dude, and then your M44 just nukes the poor dude. Holy cow. Oh, look at this. Found an arty. Oh, it's awesome. No, 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 hit him. No, no. Oh, never stop. All right. Yeah, big mistake. The P43 was last spotted here. It was a long time ago. It was highly unlikely he'd gone anywhere. So you had to assume once you were spotted that he was going to start taking shots. I would have gone around the 304 and headed down into the ditch. That may not have saved you, but at least moving would have made you a harder target right there. So big mistake stopping. And that's that mid to late game scout stuff that you got to start learning. How to survive when I'm low hit points with a scout. I'm not sure why you didn't shoot him. Ideally, in that case, you'd auto-aimed the dude and shot him twice. You should have had 2 shots down range before that P43 even got one onto you, and then kept trucking. Like I said, I would have dove down into this pit and attempted maybe to make that shot more difficult. Potentially go up and over that ridge and then hide myself from the P43 once we found him there. But nicely done, man. 4,179. I want to say there was some more spotting in there, some of that secret spotting that doesn't show up. 53 damage. Really nice early positioning. Good job with that. Some things to work on the mid to late game. But the general idea of what you're supposed to be doing was real nice. And so the solid foundation there is there, man. Just, you know, think about those, where you go after that initial positioning, how you make your approach. I think with a scout, very often, how you make your approach to the next spot is as important as what the next spot's going to be, right? So how I get there, how I approach it, how I go about it is as important as knowing where it is I need to go. And then maybe to some extent being a little too fixated on the 1-2 line here, but in general, good job coming forward. So that early loss of hit points really hurts you, and you did mention that in your notes. And then late game right here, you probably could have kept yourself alive a little bit longer by continuing to move, or potentially anyway. All right, man. Thanks for sending that in. That was a great little game. I appreciate that. It's nice to show the mid-tier games because we've got a lot of new guys trying to learn how to play the game. People moving through other lower-tier tech trees, lines, and all that good stuff. All right, that's all I've got. Thanks for sending that in. I appreciate everybody coming. Thanks for the support of the channel, as always. If you're looking for ways to do so, you will find them down in the description. That's all I've got, and we will see you.